When a person is murdered, their loved ones, and often the public, want the killers to be brought to justice as soon as possible. Much of the time, this does happen. But some killers evade law enforcement long enough to kill at least 3 people, officially making them serial killers. Many serial killers are eventually captured, but some remain under police radar for years, even decades. Here are 4 serial killers who have never been caught. On May 23, 1919, Joseph and Catherine Maggio were brutally attacked in their home in New Orleans. While Joseph survived, Catherine's neck was so brutally severed it nearly decapitated her. It was one of the most gruesome murders the New Orleans Police Department had seen at the time. This attack is largely thought to be the first of the killer who would come to be known as the New Orleans Axeman. From 1918 to 1919, though some theorize the killing started as early as 1910, the Axeman terrorized the city. He was known for targeting Italian grocers, possibly due to xenophobia or anger over a job loss, and for using weapons from the victims' homes. Overall, at least a dozen attacks are thought to be the work of the Axeman. According to one popular legend, on March 13, 1919, the Axeman wrote a letter to the New Orleans newspaper, the Times-Picayune. In the letter, he threatened another attack in the early morning hours of the following Tuesday, March 19th. However, he promised to spare anyone who played jazz music, as he was very fond of it. On the night of March 18th, jazz could be heard from houses and clubs all over the city. No attacks were reported. In June 1918, Louis Bessemer and his female companion, Anna Lowe, became the next alleged victims. Both survived the initial attack, but Lowe died of her wounds on August 5th. She named Bessemer as her attacker before succumbing to her injuries. Although she was thought to be frequently delirious while clinging to life, Bessemer was tried for her murder. However, in May 1919, the jury deliberated for 10 minutes before acquitting him. Lowe's murder has never been solved, and she's thought to be the victim of the Axeman. Other suspects include Orlando Giordano and his 17-year-old son, Frank. The two lived next door to the Cordemelia family, who was attacked on the night of March 9, 1919. The attack injured husband and wife Charlie and Rosie, but left their 2-year-old daughter, Mary, dead. The Giordanos were tried and convicted for the attack on the Cordemelias. Orlando was sentenced to life in prison, while Frank received the death penalty. But in 1920, Rosie retracted her already shaky statement that claimed the Giordanos were her attackers. Both men were soon released. The murder of Mary Cordemelia and the attempted murder of her parents is largely believed to be the work of the Axeman. The last alleged attack occurred on October 27, 1919, and claimed the life of Mike Pepitone, whose widow Esther would go on to be acquitted of murder herself. The Axeman has never been caught. Today, over-the-counter pain relievers come in solid capsules, impossible to open without crushing. However, this hasn't always been the case. Until recent decades, these medications were sold in openable capsules that could be filled with whatever the owner wished. But in 1982, this all changed. In the early morning hours of September 29th, 12-year-old Mary Kellerman, a resident of the Chicago suburb of Elk Grove Village, took a Tylenol capsule to quell a sore throat and runny nose. By 7 a.m., she was dead. Over the next few days, 6 more deaths in the Chicago area would be linked to Tylenol. Johnson & Johnson, the company that manufactured the pain reliever, ordered a recall of every bottle on the shelf, a move that cost them over $100 million. Upon investigation, capsules in 3 of the bottles were found to be laced with cyanide. Several interesting theories had been brought forth concerning this case. At one point, serial killer Ted Kaczynski, otherwise known as the Unabomber, was considered a suspect. This is a theory that some people still believe. However, the most prominent suspect has always been James Lewis. A month after the original murders, Lewis wrote a letter to Johnson & Johnson, offering them $1 million if they wanted the killings to stop. He ended up serving 12 years in federal prison for extortion. While he's never fully left police radar, his home was even searched in 2009, neither he nor anyone else has ever been arrested in connection with the murders. On Friday, August 19, 1985, Stephen Harkins and his girlfriend, Ruth Cooper, went on a weekend trip to Tule Lake, about a 45-minute drive from their home in Tacoma, Washington. But neither of them showed up for work Monday, and coworkers grew concerned. 2 days later, on Wednesday, August 14th, Harkins' body was found in a forest close to Tacoma. The cause of death was a single gunshot wound to the head. Cooper's body wasn't found until 2 months later. Although she too had died from a gunshot, she also had a tube sock wrapped around her neck. In December of that same year, 2-year-old Tacoma resident Crystal Robertson was found wandering in a Kmart, half an hour away in Spanaway. Crystal's parents, 36-year-old Mike Reamer and 21-year-old Diana Robertson, were nowhere to be found. When asked about their whereabouts, Crystal would only say, "Mommy is in the trees." 2 months later, Robertson's remains were found in a pickup truck on Washington State Route 7. Her cause of death was stabbing, but she, like Ruth Cooper, had a tube sock wrapped around her neck. For over a decade, Mike Reamer was the prime suspect in all 3 murders. A note found in the truck read, "I love you, Diana," and was thought by Robertson's mother to match Reamer's handwriting. Reamer also had a history of domestic violence, as well as experience as an animal trapper, giving him the skills necessary to survive outdoors and possibly avoid detection for long periods of time. But in 2011, Reamer's decomposed skull was found a mile away from where his girlfriend's body had been discovered years earlier. Although a few theories have been put forward, including the idea that Reamer was actually involved, all 4 murders remain unsolved. This story is a little unusual. Most of the deaths on this list have been confirmed as homicides, but the theory of the smiley face killer puts forth the idea that a murderer or murderers is or are responsible for a string of drownings across the northeastern United States. This theory was proposed by retired New York City detectives Kevin Gannon and Anthony Duarte in 2008. In 1997, the pair had investigated the death of Patrick McNeil, whose body was found near the Brooklyn Pier in April. An autopsy report showed no outward trauma or injuries, making foul play unlikely. However, his manner of death was listed as undetermined. In 2003, Gannon and Duarte worked a similar case, that of 21-year-old Chris Jenkins. The University of Minnesota's student's body washed up in the Mississippi River in February, 4 months after his disappearance on Halloween night. His death was initially ruled an accident, but later changed to homicide. There were outward similarities in the cases. Both victims were young white men who supposedly drowned, and they weren't the only ones. Upon further investigation, Gannon and Duarte found 40 similar cases, spanning 25 cities and 11 states. Many of the drownings were connected by what would become this alleged killer's trademark symbol, a graffitied smiley face in the areas where the bodies were found. Notes were even found at some of the crime scenes, reading things like "Evil Happy Smiley Face Man" and "Sinsinawa." This theory has largely been met with skepticism. In 2008, the same year Gannon and Duarte went public with their theory, the FBI released a statement saying they had found no links between any of the deaths. The La Crosse Police Department in La Crosse, Wisconsin, which investigated 8 of the drownings, also released a statement that year. In the statement, La Crosse Chief of Police Edward Kondracki reminded the public that every drowning had been thoroughly investigated, and no smiley face graffiti or links between any of the deaths had been found. The statement also claimed that males make up 90% of drowning victims aged 15 to 24, the primary gender and age range of the victims. Still, the theory persists. Are these deaths nothing more than tragic accidents? often caused by a dangerous mix of alcohol and large bodies of water? Or is there really a killer or killers out there? So those are all the cases I have for you today. I hope you'll check out some more of my true crime videos, which you can find in the description or here on the screen. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.